Welcome to West Nale Virus. Today we're doing a get to know with Nale, and we're going to be asking him about basketball. But first, real quick plug: follow us on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on TikTok and on Instagram. That's where we are. It's down in the YouTube description. All our links. Anchor is where all our podcast stuff runs from. So there you go. Other than that,
the video.
Into the video. So first question, or just the general question is,
Okay.
so I've played a little bit of basketball in my time.
Thank goodness.
But not as much as you. I have not played as much basketball as you, and I've obviously not coached as much as I've never coached basketball. In fact, I know less about basketball than I did 5 years ago. But
how does that happen?
But what I want to know today is I kind of want to know how you look at the defensive side of basketball. So kind of obviously, there's zone defenses and there's man defense. Obviously in the NBA, you literally can't play zone. I mentioned that yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much against the rules. They might have well just said, if you play zone, we will be fining you. But no, I mean, so that's
why college basketball is way more fun than the pros.
There you go. Well, because as we talked about yesterday, I need to get into college basketball then. But
because there's no limitations on what you can do on the defensive end.
But in general, I guess my first question is kind of in general, if you could only run one. Okay, good gosh, you could only run zone or man. You couldn't run both.
Oh my gosh. Okay. If I was going to pick one, I'd pick man. I would run man. Now,
okay.
Just because you gave me that option, I'm not going to be a politician. I'm just going to straight up answer your question.
Right.
Now I'll be the politician. Obviously, a good coach there's two different types of coaches. There's a good coach that drills one defense into their team's head. So you see teams like Syracuse, they play zone and they play it really well. And there's high school teams that only play zone and they play it really well. There's other high school teams that play man and they play man really well. And and there's different kinds of zones that you can run, 2-3, 3-2, 1-3-1, a lot of different things. And if you have a good coach, you run that one all season and you do a good job. My glasses are crooked. I'm sure it's going to be bugging people on YouTube. But anyways, so but I think and I don't want to use the word but, I want to use the word and. And the reason I say that is because I don't want to discourage people from only running one defense if you're a coach. So I'm a coach, I'm a basketball coach, so this is what I think. I think the best teams know how to play everything.
That makes sense to me.
So you need to know your personnel, right? We want the best athletes. So I think if you're super athletic, you play man. If you're slow and big and long, you play zone. If you're playing against a team that is terrible at shooting, you play zone, because zone defense, you're guarding a zone, and the zones most likely given up are 3-pointers around the 3-point line. If you play man and you're really slow, you're going to get burned one-on-one. You can see my cat in the background licking himself. Sorry. So there's, so if I was going to pick, I would pick man, because I think that you can create athletes and it creates a smarter basketball player. And if you start with man, you can play anything else. If you start with zone, there's no way you can transition from zone to man. No way. But there's a super easy transition going from man to zone.
So you're saying, as a coach, if you were teaching new basketball players, you would first say, all right, we're playing man. That's the first thing we're doing, because you kind of, it's a better baseline than
zone.
Okay.
But they do it the opposite.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They do it the opposite. When I was younger, I played zone, which I didn't have a problem transitioning to man, personally, because I was actually better at man.
Yeah.
Because I was short. you
You
kind of
find out the kids that really
hard
understand
to do that,
basketball.
but yeah, exactly.
Because
So
in within man, there is a little bit of zone within, and so
right,
and that's why I say so. A lot of people, I think this is what a lot of people they think, because there's this little bit of zone, like there's help side defense that you have to play in man,
right,
that if you teach them zone, they'll understand that. Where that is in, granted, my coaching career has been short, but I have not found that. I've been coaching for a little over 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years. And I was coaching at a school that mainly played zone before I got there.
right.
And I got a coaching job at the school I graduated from. And when I played, we just had transitioned from zone to man. And so a lot of the kids in the system, kids younger than me, had only played zone. And so it was really hard to get them to play man. Well, now I'm coaching, and still these kids coming up, like a few years later, after these kids know man, now it's a little easier. At the JV level, they understand man. Now they get to the varsity level, and the varsity coach, they can throw in a little bit of zone because they understand help side. What happens when the shot goes up? You got to go hit somebody.
Right.
Yeah, anyways,
No, yeah, absolutely. I guess this is kind of a weird question, but like, as a coach, how much do you focus on teaching defense? Like, how important is it to you that your players are really good at defense? Like, you drill it into them as much as you can, like that versus offense. Like, how much how important is it, and how much do you like work on it?
When I started, okay, so I coached at the high school level,
Right.
and I started coaching, and even before high school, I started coaching middle school.
Mhm.
At the middle school level, defense, I didn't care. We just taught a little bit of like basics of like fundamentals of man defense.
Right.
And all I wanted them to do was dribble. But I just wanted them to dribble and shoot. Right.
Get good at dribbling and shooting.
Yeah. So
very important in basketball.
So at the younger level, it's very fundamental. And then at the JV level, it's like JV and varsity level, I would say it's 75% defense, 25% offense.
Because that's kind of like what they need to work on themselves, like at home.
Well, yes, I think so.
I mean, yeah, shooting and dribbling. If you have access to a basketball, well, you can work on those things by yourself. So,
yeah, 100% agree with you. Problem is that how do you get kids? So let's say you coach at a small school, right? And the reason I say that is because a big school or a private school, you have kids that just want to play basketball. That's all they want to do. They work hard, right? Now let's say I live in a small town, and it's public school, maybe even a small private school, and the kids can do everything.
Right.
Even as a player, like if you're a basketball player or just a sports player, an athlete in general, I think that's great. You should play 3 sports, be in the band or in the choir, and run for, ASB, student body.
Right.
And, you should do all that stuff. I think that's great. But the problem is, as a basketball coach, you get subpar basketball players. And I can't require them to do anything they don't want to do. And I don't have them, 3 seasons. I have them for 3 months out of the entire year. And then maybe 2 months over the summer where we just do open gyms and a few tournaments here and there.
Right.
So what, I don't have high skilled players. What am I going to do? I'm going to play defense really well. I'm going to force turnovers. And the nice thing about defense, and we're talking about defense on this one, is that defense is basically one thing. It's effort. That's what defense is. And rebound, and we can throw rebounding in there. It's effort.
Right. Yeah.
And I think if people know who Dennis Rodman is, yeah, he's skilled. He was a pro. Like, you have to be skilled, but his effort was, so much higher than everyone else's. And you can control effort. And that's the great thing about effort, is that there's only 2 things you can control.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's only 2 things you can control, is effort and attitude.
Yeah.
So if
you have you can work on it, but you can't just make it happen right there.
Exactly. So when it comes to defense, if I have a lower skilled team, I'm playing defense. We're working on defense 75% of the day, and the rest of the day we're shooting or dribbling. We're going over, different
Right.
things.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I think that if you have a highly skilled offense or some offensive players, you could do a little more. They understand, and they can go a lot of kids, and you and I could do it too. We just go to the park once a week and play, and we
Right.
will learn we'll learn things about ourselves when we are handling the ball or shooting
Yeah.
the ball or how to read, a pick and roll. All,
Mhm.
all by just going out and playing with other kids offensively.
Yeah.
Defensively, it's a little tougher, just because different offenses are thrown at you. There's so many
Right.
different things that can
There's lots of
happen.
different kinds of there's different kinds of players. There's different kinds of yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Okay. So do you mind if I like run through a scenario? Kind of give
Go ahead.
you talk about okay, so say you've got one kid. Okay, so this is basically I'm basing this off of a basketball team I was on. Okay.
Okay.
So for instance, this is not me bragging, this is just a statement. I was one of the best defensive players in the league.
Okay.
But worst offensive player.
Uh-huh.
Like I was one of the worst offensive players. I couldn't shoot, I couldn't dribble. If you get me the ball, the only thing I'm going to do is pass. I freaked out. Okay. So he's locked down on defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I could lock people down on defense. That's it.
Right.
And so you got that kid, and then you have a pretty big center who's kind of slow. He's not really, he's not quick up and down the court. Man defense, probably not the best for him. Okay. And then you've got three other guys, all of whom are pretty average on defense. They do okay. They do.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't. What would you do? What would you run? Would it be a zone? Would you and say you're up against a really good team at shooting threes?
Oh man.
You run man.
I'm running
100%.
man. I'm putting my best defensive player probably on their ball handler and my second best defensive player shadowing their shooter. Just because I have a big slow center doesn't mean I'm going to run zone.
Right.
Just because they probably are going to have a big, especially at the high school level, they're going to have their biggest player down on the block.
Right. Yeah. So you'll have at least one guy playing kind of that mid zone, but everyone else is playing man.
Yeah. I mean, no, everyone's in man.
Everyone's in man, including
everyone.
him. He's just on the slowest guy.
Yeah. Everyone's on man. Yeah. As a high school coach, I see very little teams win with a zone.
Okay.
If that makes
now say change up scenario a little bit. You're up
okay.
against a team not good at shooting 3-pointers at all. They're a terrible 3-point shooting team. They're really good at just driving in, hitting the layup, or they've got a couple of big men who are really good at getting it, making a move,
right,
putting it in. What do you do then? Do you still play man and just stick the big guy on the guy in the post?
What I do as a coach is I always start out in man. So I will always start out in man, and a lot of my I'll say, and then I'll switch to zone. But what I hear a lot of times is people say, we don't play zone. We don't play zone. Zone is soft. That basically means that what we're telling the other team is that we can't guard them, which I think is half true. But at the same time, I think it takes a good, humble coach to understand, hey, like, okay, maybe we can't guard them, so we need to drop to a zone that gives us a better chance to win. You're putting your team in a better chance to win. Or, hey, they cannot hit a three. They are 0 for 10 right now. And but they're still hanging with us because they're driving, and why don't we take a step back, and either we're going to play man and we're going to take one step back so that we don't get blown by, or we're going to switch to a zone, whatever zone that be, and force them to beat us by hitting a three. So I think that is what a good coach would do. And I've seen a lot growing up in the game and as a coach, where a lot of coaches just refuse to go zone because they are so selfish and will not play because they think, oh, that means we can't guard them. That means we're soft. No, it actually is. It probably is a good thing.
Right. I mean, yeah, I've never understood that when people are like, oh, pride, though.
Right.
It's going to help you win. And let's be realistic here. We can't guard them. So,
yeah. Now,
yeah,
like
no.
I said before, defense is all effort. So you can, and here's the thing, you can give a well-coached team, you can give 100% effort, right? And you still may lose playing man, right? They may get lucky and knock down, get some shots. Some things happen. You get blown by a few times and it's hard to keep up. Your effort may not be good because they are good enough because they are so skilled. They can break you down.
Right. And it happens.
It happens. And that's okay. Switch to the zone. It's okay.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. Well, I had a question. Okay. I'm trying to think of what it was. Frick.
Well, and I'll say this: if they have a big man too, so they may be good shooters. If they have a really good big man and good shooters, you might be screwed. And I would just play man and help down on the big. But you could also switch to zone and see what can happen there, because now we're plugging the middle and the big man's got to do a lot more work.
Okay. Now, okay, this was my question. What is something that people might not expect, or something, like, I don't know, like setting taking a charge, like something that people might not expect. That was just something that I thought might be a good thing that some might not expect. That's very important on defense.
Yeah, I think charges are my favorite.
Right.
But the best thing that I can see that the one thing I love to see is someone play defense without reaching. So everyone wants to get a steal, right?
Right.
And we're talking defense. So I think there's charges, and this is like 1A and 1B, right? They're at the same. So you have charges, and then you have, when I play defense, my hands are up always. I love to see a player in defensive stance, hands are up, and you could play defense and lock the guy down without stealing the ball. You completely take him out of the game. And I think the best time to get a steal is when the ball is on a pass, right? Either I'm guarding the ball, right? And they pass it and I tip it, and then my teammate steals it. Or I'm the teammate that is jumping into the passing lane and stealing the ball.
Right.
So I think on ball defense, and my rule, even growing up, I had this for myself on defense. The number one rule is ball pressure.
Right.
So if you have ball pressure, it's hard for them to dribble. It's hard for them to shoot. It's hard for them to make a pass. And
get on in
the face. Yeah, get on
their face.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I mean, granted, now I'm very slow, so it would not go well if I get up on a quick guy. And most people are quicker than me now. So it's, ball pressure is a little harder for me, but I can make it a little bit harder for them if I'm in their face screaming, bah, 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 and be annoying and spit on them. And a lot of times we yell stick, 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 because for that reason, I'm spitting and I'm spitting. And so we legit will say stick, and you're not trying to spit on them, but sometimes, it hits them.
Right.
And they're like, oh, gross. And now you're in their head. And I don't know if that's best for COVID season, but
probably not.
I mean, it's bad in general.
Yeah,
it's not even just
it is.
COVID. But hey, that's what they do. That is not a new thing.
Like, a lot of people do it's how sports works. Now I have another question about something else that I thought of. I remember I had one coach who emphasized this a lot on defense, trapping, like getting him in a trap, and for me, it's a trap has always been extremely, to me, what it seems like is it's extremely situational, and a lot of times it can hurt you instead of help you. So I feel like maybe don't like emphasize that as much, but I don't know. Like I've never coached. I haven't watched as much basketball or played as much basketball as you. So
There's certain areas on the floor that we want to trap. Yeah, and it's totally situational. You're right. And what defense you're running.
right.
But as you play against better and better players, they have more and more skill. They can see the floor. Everything slows down for them. You don't really want to trap because it's very easy to break a press to break a trap if you know it's coming.
Right.
Right. And at the lower levels, I say even at the high school level, it's a lot easier to get a trap on because kids pick up their dribble. Mm-hmm. Right. And where if you Division I college, probably any college level and professional, you'll hardly ever see a trap because they're so strong and they're so much more skilled that they it's easier for them to break a trap.
Yeah.
But I do like it. I do like trapping at the high school level. I love trapping.
Right.
Get in their grill.
Okay. So as a coach, and you're sitting there with just a regular team, it's nothing special. You got,
okay,
maybe nobody's really good or really bad at defense. You just got a regular team. The other team comes up and they got one kid on their team. What's the thing that scares you the most on defense? Like a really good shooter, a really good dribbler, a really good passer, big old post guy, like what is it?
I think the thing that scares me the most on defense is just a uneducated team when it comes to moving or jumping to the ball on defense. So it has nothing to do with the other team. When I go into, I believe that we could play defense on anyone. So let's just say we're playing man defense. And I know they have a stud and he's probably going to score 20 points. Right. That's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my best player, stick him and
minimize it as much as you can.
Yeah. It's like, if we're going to win, make somebody else beat us. Right. Don't let him score. Or maybe I'll just, be in his pocket the entire time.
Right.
Just sniffing him.
Whatever you can do.
Joe Biden and I'm sniffing him the entire time. But what scares me the most is if we get beat and my players don't understand help defense, right? So to help over, like on a man, yes, you're guarding your man, but if the ball is the most important thing on the floor, so we got to stop the ball. So if we help over, force them to throw a long pass, we can recover. So I think the scariest part to me is my players not understanding or not being in the right spot constantly. That means that I'm doing a bad job as a coach. My players do not understand that if you're 2 passes away from the ball, you need to be on help side. If you're 1 pass away from the ball, you need to be in the passing lane. And if the ball handler drives, I got to show and help, or my big man's got to slide over and take a charge. And the guy weak side who's helping now has to get all the way over and help the big man out. So everybody's got to understand these things. And if they don't, that's what scares me the most. But if we're talking about an offensive threat, what scares me the most is a ball handler that can pass the ball. No,
okay.
A scorer doesn't scare me. We can stop someone from scoring.
Right.
But
that's the whole point of defense.
Right. I could stick my quickest and my best person and just stick him. Like I said, ball pressure. I won't even let him catch the ball. But if they have a guy that can break down a player with his ball handling and then read a defense and pass find the open man, that really scares me. And so that's what I want my players to understand. And even as a player, of course, everybody wants to score 50 points a game, but even 20 points. But that's really hard. But how many players can get 10 assists and 10 rebounds? That's a
good question.
There's not a ton. There's not a bunch of Russell Westbrooks out there.
No, there's not.
So if I can get a double-double in assists and rebounds, that person really scares me.
Right. All right. Well, I mean, I don't really have any more questions for you about defense specifically, but yeah, no, I mean, and yeah, for those of you who didn't know already, Caleb is a coach, and he's coached for a while, and he played, his whole as a child up until end of high school. So he knows,
still play to this day,
and he still plays to this day, and I play now too with other people who,
it's just a lot slower.
yeah, I'm not playing at a college level or anything here where might try my intramural team though. That'd be fun. But
oh yeah, I don't know if we're gonna be talking about pressing on a different episode.
Oh, that is actually, yes. That was a question I had thought about before the episode that I forgot about. So yeah, before we wrap up, yeah, how do you feel about pressing?
Oh, thank you. Glad you asked. It's I kind of feel the same way about it with the same thing I said about trapping.
Right.
So you have a more skilled, more experienced team. You're not going to do that well when it comes to pressing.
Right.
And pressing is so tough on a person. I can only press even in my prime. I could press really hard for about 3 minutes, and then I needed a break.
Right. Because I mean, you're running up and down the whole court that whole time if you're pressing.
Right. And when I mean pressing on a make and a miss. I mean, we're always in it. Press, trying to force as many turnovers as we can. So against a team with no ball handler, or even just a mediocre ball handler, I'm pressing. I will press. And I come from an area like our high school area. A lot of teams press. Right. And each coach has their own style of press. There's only one that works, and every coach, and it's the one the coach runs. He swears. Every coach swears by their press. But I've actually only seen one work. And I run that press, and I don't run any other press. Every other press. Well, and then here's the other thing. Every coach has their press break, and it can break any press. Right. And they swear by it.
Right.
And I've only seen one of those that actually works. The other times they just get
every time. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to pressing, basically in a press, it's a full court defense for those that don't know and haven't caught on yet. And you're basically just looking for tips, right? So that we can steal the ball and force a lot of turnovers. You're going to give up a lot of layups, but you're also going to force a lot of turnovers. Now, you typically run that when you have short, quick players. I mean, obviously we want long, lanky, tall, fast players, but you don't get those all the time. So what we do is we see a team has mediocre to poor ball handling and passing skills. We will press them. I will usually start out in a press. And and we see that, okay, this is not going to go well. We go down by 6 real quick because their ball handler, he, like I said, can break down and find the open man. Right. We'll pull the press off. Maybe we'll go to a 3/4 court, or maybe even a half court, pick up at half and run different things. But you're trying to get a trap out of these presses and to steal the ball. So just against a skilled team and a well-coached team, it's not going to work that well. Mm-hmm. But it does make for fun basketball. Pressing does. And I think every team needs to know press. So there's a lot that you need to learn on defense, and you need to know it well. So that's why you need to spend 75% of practice going over defense and defensive drills. Like, they need to have quick feet.
Right. So two last questions. These will be quick.
No, it's okay. Just keep going. We're good.
As a coach,
okay,
if you had one drill to recommend for a coach to run at practice or for defense, what would it be?
Shell.
Explain.
Yeah, shell drill. Shell drill. You basically go on YouTube or Google and look it up. But you have 3, 4, 5-man shell drills, and you're basically teaching your players to jump to where the ball is and to jump to the position that they need to be in. So you'll give your player, let's say, okay, Josiah, you're guarding Caleb in the corner, and then your other teammates are guarding these other guys. And then I'm the coach. I throw the ball to Caleb and go, and they jump to the ball. So you would fly out, jump on the ball pressure, stick, ball. Everybody else is getting, help side. And then we call it denial. So they're denying the ball, deny the ball, help side. And everybody's talking to each other because communication is actually huge when it comes to defense. I didn't mention, I can't believe I didn't say that before, but you have to be talking on defense. And so we're basically teaching the kids where to go when the ball is in a certain spot. And it's not like, okay, I'm going to turn and jog over here and la-di-da-di-da. It's boom, we go, we sprint. It's always a sprint and we get there.
Right.
And we work. And on that drill, you're working on closeouts, staying low, communication, help side defense, ball pressure. You're doing all those things. And you basically teach every kid every spot, because who knows what spot they're going to be playing.
Right. Somebody sets a screen or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. They cut through. Now I have to play defense over here when I was over here. So they need to know every spot on the floor, what to do, when to do it. There's situations that, coaches can throw in there. So like we always force baseline. This is very basic for coaching and defensive tactics, but you drive baseline, we're trapping, right? Our help side guy and guy on ball, boom, trap. Everybody's rotating over. It's just another way to force a tip ball and a turnover. Another way we're trying to force a turnover.
Right. So shell drill is pretty much you set up a scenario and you kind of not slow motion run through, but like you get the ball in a place and you're like, okay, this is what you do when the ball's here. And this is what you do when the ball's here.
Right. And we make it really hard on them because they usually have to guard, there's nobody on the floor. Right. So it's usually like 3 on defense, 4 on offense, right? 4 on defense, 5 on offense. So like, okay, so this is the pass we're giving up because we're helping. So, if this pass is okay, all these passes are bad. This is where you need to be. Right. So now they're learning like, okay, yeah, coach wants me way over here now. And then finally, we'll put on 5 on 5 and we'll pass the ball around, make sure everybody's understanding. And then, 10 passes. Okay, play, real quick.
So, okay. So one of my favorite drills as a player when I was younger was always 3 on 2, 2 on 1.
Okay.
How do you like running 3 on 2, 2 on 1?
I run 3 on 2, 2 on 1 for oh gosh, like I was gonna say cardio purposes, but stamina,
Right. Yeah.
I don't like running to just run. So the only time I'll put players on the line is, if I have to repeat myself more than 3 times, the 3rd or 4th time we're running, or if they're just being disrespectful.
It's a punishment. Running is a punishment.
Right. We're like at the end of practice and we have to run just to run. That means you're not doing a good job in practice. You're not getting enough in. So I'll actually start practice with 3 on 2, 2 on 1, full court layups. And it's not, like a light jog to get warm up. I mean, it's go time. The second we're on the court, it's go time. So you need to be there early and warming up to get warmed up. And then I'll throw in scramble. I call it scramble. It's a constant 3 on 2 going back and forth. That's actually a lot of fun. So those are the things that I do for gosh, what is the word, Josiah, that I'm looking for?
I mean, cardio made sense for me. Stamina made sense as well. Conditioning.
Yes, conditioning. Oh my gosh. For me now it's cardio because I'm getting fat. So I need cardio and stamina to lose my belly fat. But
right. Well, my last question was, so I asked you what would be your favorite drill as a coach, shell drill, for those who may have forgotten. But if you were going to tell a player to work on at home, by themselves on their defense,
On
what would you tell
defense,
them to do?
defense, I would tell them to work on.
Is there any way to, I guess?
Oh yeah, there's. I would tell them to work on their footwork and foot speed.
Footwork.
Yeah, so run ladders, jump squats, and I just work on their foot. Any drill that they can find on Google and YouTube, do that, and their balance.
Would
And
you recommend actively watching, not just passively watching, but
Right.
actively watching, like maybe not necessarily the NBA, but like really good basketball players?
you can, but like I said, it's all effort. So those
Right.
like Drew Holiday, Kawhi Leonard, these guys that play crazy defense,
Mhm.
it's just like, all right, I'm not getting beat. Right? Keep your look. And a lot of players like to look the other player in the eye or watch the ball. Do not do that. Look at
Don't
their
do
belt.
that.
Look at their belt buckle.
If they
can't
have
really-
the ball. Now, what I was always taught, and you can tell me this is right or wrong, but what I was always taught was when I'm on a guy and the ball's over there, my guy's right here, I stand like here and I kind of open myself up to the ball and to
Yeah.
my guy, and I just look in the middle so I can keep an eye on the ball and keep an eye on my guy.
Right. You always want to be between man and ball. That's all. That always.
Or
So
if your guy's got the ball and goal.
yes. Well, you always want to be between your man, the ball, and the hoop.
Yeah.
So
You want the ball and your man to be further away from the hoop than you are.
so I mean that's like now we're talking super basic stuff
Well,
that like you should know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're listening
absolutely.
to this podcast and you don't know that, then we need to talk about you should probably go play football.
Well, I think an interesting thing too is about coaching just in general. How important do you find it to just go over the basics like over and over and over again? Because
so important.
I've seen a lot of guys in the past where like they're really good at some like really advanced stuff, but then like they just don't do the basics. And so they just don't win, or they just don't do well or whatever. Like,
Well, I find myself, when I go play, so when and you get tired, you make these mistakes when you get tired, and especially when
Right.
you're older and there's not a coach screaming at you.
Right.
It's just pick up, you can get away with these things. But even when a guy cuts through the middle and you turn the wrong way, sometimes I'll go like this and you're following him, right?
right.
I'm doing the correct thing. I'm taking away the pass when he cuts, and now he's going to the corner, right? He cut all the way through. He goes to the corner, and I turn the wrong way, and he may not get the ball, but I still turn the wrong way. And those little things I notice, and it's just being undisciplined. And if I was playing against a good ball handler and a good cutter that noticed that, they would tear me apart.
Right.
But it's just little things like that. So it's really important. Every once in a while, when it's season time, you probably need to be going full steam ahead. But over the summer, that's when we can address these things. Like, okay, we're going to work on jump stops today because that's what happens in basketball. We have to jump stop. So,
right. And we had a bunch of walking things, like,
we traveled this many times. Here we go. We're jump stopping, and there shouldn't be an excuse. You should. Your players. It took me a while until probably my senior year of basketball in high school to understand this. They're like, oh, actually doing this makes me better. It's continuing to do these things. Like maybe I'll do a really intense ball handling drill, but at the end of it, I don't just throw the ball to my teammate. I got to boom, do the drill, boom, jump stop. Now make the pass. Step into my pass. Like basic stuff.
Basic stuff. It's very important to keep all that in mind. And I do think that's something that in every sport, not just basketball, I think a lot of people overlook that. That's something too, like for me as a player was always like the thing to me that was most important, was like keeping my basics like pretty good. I never got to an advanced level, but my basics were good. And it worked out.
We are so basic. We teach our kids when we run, like if we have to run as punishment, they're not even allowed to start in like a track runner position, one
Right.
foot in front of the other and like
Right.
ready to go. No, they have to start in defensive stance, like triple threat. One foot is only this far in front of the other. Like they have the ball, rip through and go. Like that's how basic we are. So and we work on our big first step, because in basketball, you never start in track position ever.
No.
You always start. I mean, we don't want to be flat footed, but you know what? You understand what I'm saying? We always start in a stance and triple threat. So that's we're so basic. We're even working on that when we run for punishment.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I think that was a very comprehensive look at the basics of defense. I mean, obviously, we didn't run through every zone, and we didn't run through, what you do in every little specific scenario, but I think that's a pretty good base point. And thanks for answering my questions today. That's all I've got for you at the moment. And yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. And come check in again next week we do these get to knows on Tuesdays, Thursdays. We're doing a D&D kind of series right now on my get to know. So that tells you, where I am with basketball. And and then
we're going to be building our a character together.
Yes, we're going to be building a character together on Tuesday. Maybe we'll build 2 characters, a character each. But yeah, I don't know yet, but we'll be building a character on Tuesday, and Thursday we're going to be doing something, I'll ask Caleb something else, and it might be about basketball. We shall see. But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. Subscribe to us on YouTube, leave a comment, like, whatever. Follow us on Spotify, Anchor, all those places. And yeah.
Hey, if you made it this far, comment if you would rather play zone or man.
Yes. What would you rather play? Good question. See ya.